I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. The story is great, and I've probably seen the series 10 times over. One of the reasons I love it so much is not just because of the Eastern philosophies, but because I get something new out of it each time. And one episode that I have learned more and more about each time I watch it is the storm. Welcome, film fans, to my channel. My name is Movie Man Greg, and here I celebrate all geeky fandom of movies and TV shows, because here your fandom deserves to be celebrated, not ridiculed. One of the reasons people love this episode so much was not only because it took itself a little bit more seriously, but we actually got to learn about the characters. And it's true, we learn about the faults of Aang and the faults of Zuko and where they came from. And a lot of people like to say that these are parallel stories. Unfortunately, they're not parallel. They're more yin and yang, and it really shows the types of characters that they have started with, and actually gives a little foreshadowing of how their stories will end as well. Let's take a look at some of the similarities. Aang and Zuko are both destined to be something great. Zuko was born to be a prince, and Aang, unknowingly, was born to be the Avatar. There's a difference, though. Zuko embraces his role as being a prince. He wants the responsibility, and he realizes what kind of decisions he'll have to make in order to do what's best for the Fire Nation. Aang, on the other hand, doesn't. He doesn't want to be the Avatar. He wants to be a kid. In fact, he even tries to deny this call when he's first told that he's the Avatar. The Airbending Masters told him that he picked out a certain amount of toys, and he said, look, I picked them out because I thought they were fun. And this makes sense because within Aang's story and within this episode, he's basically taking the hero's journey. He explains to us his denial of the call, which also explains him running away from the fisherman when he's being accused of abandoning the world. He actually abandons the conversation. And Aang goes and hides out in a cave. When we see Zuko, he's in the water. He's pursuing something. He's going after something. And when someone challenges him, when his crewmates challenging him, instead of running away, he faces it head on. So already we're seeing how these two react to very similar situations. Aang ends up losing friends, and he ends up losing what's important to him, which is having fun, enjoying life, being a kid. That's what he's losing by being the Avatar. And that's really to no fault of his own. He's not able to make that choice. Zuko, on the other hand, wants to be part of this meeting. He wants to make a decision. He wants to be involved in that. But then the most critical thing, in my opinion, happens in their respective stories. So when Aang learns that something bad is going to happen, and he learns this by overhearing it. He wasn't invited to this meeting. He wasn't supposed to participate at all. He overhears it, so he's a little sneaky. So when he learns of this information, instead of dealing with it and trying to deal with the problem head on, he runs away. He runs away from his problems, and he runs right into a storm, the very same type of storm that's going on within him, because he has to make a choice between his childhood, and he has to make a choice between doing what's right for the world. And so instead, Aang makes a selfish choice. And this selfish choice goes against everything that we've learned of Aang so far. The fear, the selfishness, choosing himself above the world, choosing himself above other lives is actually the opposite of what we've seen from him so far. And that's what makes this episode so good and also so understandable. He's 12 years old. He shouldn't have to be making these types of decisions. And honestly, Aang hasn't changed since then. Because when he was confronted again with something uncomfortable, he runs away. He hides in a cave. So let's take a look at Zuko. When Zuko learns of this plan, first of all, he wants to participate. He's not having to sneak around. He didn't sneak into the war room. He invited himself. He's assertive. He's confident. He's also a young man of integrity because he speaks out. Zuko does a selfless act. He chooses to do what's right and to do the right thing by standing up for the young firebending soldiers in his nation. And when Zuko learns that he has to fight his own father, he cares so deeply and so much about his dad as a human being that he decides not to fight. So on the flip side, Aang's father figure, Gyatso, he doesn't even talk to him when he's confronted with something that's like very difficult to talk about. And that's a big difference between these two. Zuko, before the scar, was a selfless, prideful young man who cared about his family. And when he gets scarred and he gets banished, it's almost like he wants to decide that he is more so his father. He can be ruthless. That's why he chooses to go into the storm. He chose to go into the war room, the storm of the war room. He chose not to participate in Agni Kai, which is kind of a raging storm in and of itself. And because of that, that type of guilt is what influences him to want to be more like his dad. And that's why he's so willing to disregard his crew members. However, when we continue to see Zuko and how he acts during the storm, he actually does save his crew's life. He chooses to go into the eye of the storm, into the middle of the problem, the storm, in order to escape it. And here's why I don't think that these are parallel stories. Not only are they the exact opposite of each other in how they react in certain situations, but it also is about their character arcs overall. Because Aang's is a linear character arc. So, for example, he's going to continue changing. He's not going to be the same kid that he was at 12 years old by the end of the series. On the flip side, Zuko's character arc is more of a circular path, in that the earliest that we see him in this episode, he stands up for those who need to be protected. He does what is best for the nation, and he refuses to do the cruel thing by fighting his own father. That's actually the character that he becomes in season 3. He refuses to fight his dad during the Day of Black Sun. He stands up for those who need protection, and he is willing to do what's best for his nation, and that involves getting rid of his dad and to become the new Fire Lord. But now I want to hear from you. What do you like about this episode? And in fact, what is your favorite episode of season 1? Leave a comment down below. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and to get more videos celebrating fandom every single week.